Good morning and welcome to the Raben Report. I'm your host, Elliot Raben, so get ready to get triggered.
To the Raben Report. I'm your host, Elliot.
It
didn't finish yet. My bad. That's okay. Good morning and welcome to the Raben Report. I'm your host, Elliot Raben, as you might have heard in our intro. And with me in studio is part of my expert panel, Marshall and Adam. How are you guys?
Tired, but good.
Same, yeah. I had to pull an all-nighter before last night, and it was a bit rough, but...
We got through
got
it.
my 8 hours of sleep last night, so...
Okay, so it's not really an all-nighter.
No, it was the night before last night.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
But, sometimes the all-nighters kind of have that, latent,
Start?
those 3-day tired periods afterwards. I don't know. That's what I get, at least.
No, I feel that.
Yeah, in the same boat, guys. Just a lot of work piling up at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So, just want to mention right off the top, as per Spirit Live rules and regulations, all opinions expressed on the show are not those of Ryerson or Ryerson faculty and are only those of the individual commentators. Viewer discretion is advised. So, before we get to the weekly update, Daniel is unfortunately not here. He's feeling a little under the weather, but hopefully he's tuning in.
Feel better, buddy.
Feel better, man.
Jinx.
So the first story is a sad one, but a Jewish woman in France was killed by her Muslim neighbor. He stabbed her several times and then burned her alive. It's just blatant anti-Semitism, and one of the headlines that I read said she was a Holocaust survivor, right? So she escaped the Holocaust only to be murdered by the same hatred. What are your thoughts on this?
It's terrible.
It's tragic. I think France especially, I don't know how Europe in general is on this, but the anti-Semitism there is pretty heavy. I know that there's a lot of cultural issues, and now I don't want to spout fake news or anything. I don't know if this is the case, but what I hear is that the Jews and the Muslims in France are not the best of friends, more so than in a lot of other Western countries.
No, that's not fake news.
Okay.
It is more divided than other places. The thing with France is that it's either very divided or very in harmony.
And I have heard that as well.
There are a lot of communities that get along very well, but there are a lot of communities that just don't.
Yeah. And it's terrible.
Yeah, it's just, I feel like anti-Semitism is downplayed a lot in the world, and people don't realize how much anti-Semitism there really is, and sometimes people say that something's anti-Semitic when it's not, and it really sullies the fact that there is true anti-Semitism that exists. We did an entire episode on it, and it's very sad, especially when you look at the picture of her. She was so happy, and the biggest problem is that he told her that he would kill her, and she told police, and they did nothing.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. So police knew, and they obviously did nothing. So
police dropped the ball a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a shame.
So in this case, fuck them. But moving on, there was the March for Our Lives protest in all around the world, really. Washington, D.C. it started. There was one in Toronto. There was one in New York. There was one in Chicago, I think, following the recent school shooting in, where was it, Florida, right?
Mm-hmm. Florida.
So what do you guys think of that?
It takes a lot for me to get emotional over something online. That's not me calling me macho. That's just how I am. But I think that when I watched Emma Gonzalez's speech, I got tears in my eyes. It was very, very, very powerful. The whole sort of march, one of the largest marches on Washington, and the whole gathering itself is very powerful, but her speech especially stood out for me, and I have so much respect for those kids from Stoneman Douglas.
Marjorie Stoneman Douglas.
Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. I have so much respect for those kids. They're being reamed by Republicans. They're being reamed by NRA supporters. Emma Gonzalez was called a skinhead lesbian. They're being just trashed, slandered right and left, and they're just standing up all against it, and I have a lot of respect for them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be one of those guys reaming them. I think that there's something very rotten about this MSD5 or whatever they're calling themselves. Now, Emma Gonzalez especially actually is, I think the worst offender. Her speech at the March for Our Lives, I was shocked as I was watching it, how she could say these things and talking about, and I'll quote from her directly, is, "They told us we shouldn't have ostracized him, but you didn't know him." It's like, what I hear is like, you're telling me not to bully him, but he was weird. You don't get it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of issues that come into play with this, and we can say, yes, that Nick Cruz shouldn't have had a gun. But we can also say he shouldn't have been living in a trailer home with neglectful foster parents. He shouldn't have been friendless and bullied at school. He shouldn't have been self-harming on Instagram or Snapchat and then being told that he is not a risk for self-harm by psychiatrists who are refusing to help him. And I don't like this March for Our Lives stuff. I like, obviously, Parkland, the shooting was a tragedy, and my greatest sympathies towards the families of the victims and those who are who have been traumatized, who are witnesses, and all that. But I think the reaction to it has been piss poor, and it's. You got this David Hogg guy. My only reasons for not liking him is that he's annoying. I really like looking into him. He's not unreasonable or anything. I just think he's annoying. The rest of them are just a bit ridiculous too. The Kashav guy, I think his name is. It's some Russian or Ukrainian name or something, and he is just being silly on Twitter, just saying you can't. So one guy was saying, basically we have a Second Amendment, and you can't take that away, and one guy accused him of being a bully for saying that that they have a Second Amendment. I don't like these kids.
Yeah, I would have to say, as much as I try to remain neutral for the show, I have to say that this is not the way. I just feel like it's a lot of virtue signaling. Like even one of the students said, like their sister died, and they said, "Stop using my sister as a pawn."
Yeah, I saw that.
As a pawn, and it's like, well. Yeah, stop using. It's just like this thing. This problem I have with Joy Behar of The View. She always uses Jews as her pawn, no matter what.
Is she Jewish?
No,
no,
she's Italian.
Oh, okay.
And
really?
I thought she was Jewish, but she wasn't. She always goes, "Well, I have Jewish friends. Doesn't mean I'm not an anti-Semite." And I'm like, shut up. Like that's the only point she ever uses. So I just feel like it's the same thing here. And one of the kids, I don't know if it's the same kid, Marshall, but he was basically saying we need to take all guns away and we need more safety. And then when it was suggested that people have clear backpacks, he's like, that's a violation of my rights.
So the one who said to take guns away was a different guy from the guy who said the backpacks were a violation of his rights. But it does absolutely bring up a good point with the clear backpacks. So Marjorie Stoneman Douglas instituted clear backpack policy and ID checks at the school. And David Hogg comes out. This is a violation of our First Amendment rights to have to wear clear backpacks, which, first of all, it's not. And second of all, what are you doing, buddy? Please take away my Second Amendment, but don't you dare touch my First Amendment. It's there's no order of importance. The Second Amendment is there to protect the First Amendment. Yeah. As much as I, have my disagreements with the gun issue in the States, the Second Amendment's not a negotiable thing.
I don't know. I have to disagree with both of you. I have a lot of respect
Hot take.
I have a lot of respect for these kids. These you can find contradictions, and you can find, fallacies in every person you look up to and everybody you respect. And just because they said one thing that could be interpreted as problematic or one thing that sort of goes against their whole mission, then that doesn't make them not, a sort of role model for change. It doesn't mean that they are not the driving force behind a lot of state changes in legislation in Oregon and Florida. There's another state that changed their gun laws, but these kids are gonna make change, and I think that in the spirit of them being young, they will say things that will be contradictory. They will say things that don't necessarily fit their entire mission statement, but that doesn't make them fishy for me. I think they can do a lot of good, and I think that it's a learning curve, and we sort of have to.
And so I don't disagree with you entirely there. I don't actually take issue with any of them. I like to poke fun at David Hogg because I think he's just annoying and silly. Emma Gonzalez, she's the one I actually take issue with. I have a lot of problems with Emma Gonzalez. I think that she's a negative force on the world in general, is what I would say. I just basically, like, you can't expect me not to bully this kid because he was, whatever she thought was.
It's kind of like victim blaming, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's every time there's a shooting, same thing comes up. It's the people saying, well, we have to look at why these kids did this. They were usually bullied, and then it's shut down by, no, it's the guns. We got to get the guns. And I think that's just as.
I don't agree with the complete shutout. I think that there needs to be sort of a double look at it. On one hand, he was bullied. On one hand, we need to take away the guns.
And that is a big part of Emma Gonzalez's speech there, was just actively trying to shut down the he was bullied thing.
The issue with that is that in other places, and I can't quote interviews and different things like that, but in other places, she definitely recognized his troubled past, and they all recognize his troubled past, and they all are recognizing the need for mental health. This is what I think is one of the big changes in this gun movement, is that they're calling out a lot of the Republicans. It's like, okay, you want to make this a mental health issue, yet you vote to take away mental health spending in the budget. Like, you can't have your cake and eat it too, in a kind of way. And I think that these kids are also doing a lot. These kids are also going to inner city, primarily black communities, and being like, no, we hear you. You don't get the kind of attention that we get for our gun violence. We hear you. We hear the cries for your community that are being shot down. We hear that. And while still slow, and while still, not as much as it should be, they're still doing that as well. I think they're doing a great job. To be nitty gritty and pick on, but they said this, but they said that. Like, you have to sort of look at them in a sort of widespread view of their entire movement. And I think they're doing great. I have major respect for those kids.
Fair, and I mean, I think this is something that we could certainly go on and
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
I don't want to take up too much time with the one.
Could definitely
story.
do an episode on protesting and what the right and wrong way is,
Yeah.
and what we all think about it. And then the last piece of news, even though we're running out of time, is very lighthearted. Passover and Easter are coming up.
Oh.
So what are you guys planning to do?
So I come from a Jewish family, and my Jewish family and my Jewish family sort of got together and said, you know what, can we not do the Seder this year, please? You sit there, you sit for 2 hours, you're reading from the script, you're all hungry, you all want to eat, and then you have to dip, the lettuce in the salt water, you have to dip the matzot and the horseradish, and the thing in the raisins, and as much as we respect Passover, we respect people that celebrate Passover, we're ditching it this year, and we're going for a more sort of modern, we can read the script, but we can not take 2 hours to do it. We can, talk about what the holiday means. We can also eat while we're doing that. And it might be unorthodox, but that's also what I'm looking forward to. Yeah. So I like when Passover and Easter fall around the same time. That's
Don't
been
they
happening.
always?
Around the same time, yeah, but not on the same day almost.
Oh, no, okay.
I think they're on the same day this year. Also,
Yeah.
this year has been a lot of weird years for holidays overlapping between different faiths, like Yom Kippur and I think Eid fell on the same day in Israel. And it got to a point that the streets were just empty because both Muslims and Jews were not out on the streets, and it was just the Christian population that was kind of just chilling. And it's been I love holidays. I love religious holidays. I love the celebrations. So I think that it's a fun time.
And Marshall, how are you going to celebrate Easter?
Well, I'm heading home on, I guess, Friday. Good Friday. I'm gonna head home. Maybe Thursday night. We'll see. And yeah, gonna have a nice dinner with the family. Not sure if we're just doing one dinner or two dinners because we got obviously Good Friday and then Easter Monday. Might hit up the church Good Friday. We'll see. And yeah, I mean, just spend some time with family. It'll be nice.
Yeah, Easter Monday isn't a holiday, like for us.
Yeah,
have
no,
school.
it's not. Which yeah, I think is silly, not because it offends my sensibilities or anything, but because so many people just aren't going to be able to make it. So many people are just going to obviously put Easter before school.
Yeah.
Why not have it off? It just seems silly and impractical, but whatever.
Fair enough. I'm just trying to get the picture loaded, but
Not happening.
there we go. Okay, let's just do that one. Okay, so let's get on to our main topic, which is and by the way, about Passover. Yeah, I'm not. Don't know if I'm going to be doing a seder either. I mean, we're not very religious. We're just real chill. Karina just commented the Cadbury bunny is coming, so that's exciting.
No, I'm excited for that.
So, also Twix is doing like Easter eggs, but with Twix.
Oh.
So that's like a whole nother thing.
That sounds diabetic.
But it sounds delicious, eh?
I think
Yeah.
Twix is actually considered the least healthy candy bar. If I'm
I
not
thought that was
mistaken.
Snickers.
Oh yeah, I always get Snickers.
Yeah,
and
no, that was
Twix mixed
Snickers,
up,
I
yeah.
think. Because they do a whole report every Halloween.
Yeah.
And then, like, Three Musketeers is one of the best. I don't know.
Huh.
Yeah.
I don't like those.
Neither do I.
Yeah, they're just kind of plain.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, so the main topic, which is what the fuck did Trump do? Now, don't be confused. This isn't part of our what the fuck series.
Oh.
This is just a genuine
Oh.
question.
Oh.
Today, on our second last episode of the season, we
Sad
revisit.
reacts only.
Yeah, we revisit a familiar character we've talked about for 5 straight episodes in season 1, President Donald J. Trump. So the question again, what the fuck did Trump do? It's been over a year and a half since he's been elected, and we here at the Raben Report wanted to check in with the leader of the free world down south about how he's been doing. Has he kept his promises? Started wars? Who knows? Oh, wait, hopefully we do. So let's find out. Before we start, remember we are live on Facebook, so you can comment on our feed and have your thoughts read live on air. So the first question on everybody's mind, how has Trump been doing?
Terribly. I think he hasn't been able to do much damage, much actual damage. He's caused a lot of, I think he's, caused a lot of divides within the nation socially, and he's caused a lot of problems that way with a lot of the things he said. But in terms of legislation, he's managed to, have a lot of landmark bad decisions, like bringing back the illegal animals hunted in Africa. He's allowing for them to bring back sort of the bounties that they collect, or I can't think of words right now, but anyway, he's repealed a lot of the Obama administration's rules on LGBTQ plus equality. He's repealed a lot of his policies in terms of equality of women in the workplace. Very sort of a lot of legislation that didn't exactly get to see the light of day as it came. It didn't get to see it more in effect as it came at the end of the Obama administration. So it didn't actually get to be in practice, and it sort of didn't get to see that in Trump's administration, pulling out of the Paris Accords. A lot of stuff like that. He hasn't completely, ruined America yet, and I put the emphasis on yet. With the spending budget, I don't know what's going to happen with the ACA. I don't know what's going to happen with a lot of the other care and stuff, but I think he's done a pretty bad job. I'll get to this later, but he had a big shakeup in his administration, and that's why we're doing the episode today. But yeah, I'd give him like a D-.
So I'd say B- probably. Maybe a C+. It depends. And we do get a lot of dichotomy with the bad Trump and the good Trump, I find, and you never know which one you're going to get. So Trump has been disappointing in many areas, has pleasantly surprised me in some areas, and has just come through in general in other areas. And I find a lot of people come to me and they say, "Hey Marshall, you like Trump did this, what do you think of that?" Like they've just defeated my whole ideology or something. And it's just it's like, okay, he's the president of the United States. A lot of every president has their failures and their disappointments, and I don't think that Trump is especially disappointing in comparison to other presidents. And that depends on how you're looking at it, of course, because if you look at his personal life and you look at his Twitter and whatnot, that's I don't care about it. I don't understand why people do. He tweets a bunch of crazy stuff. I don't even look at his tweets. I don't remember the last time I saw a Trump tweet. And all this Stormy Daniels stuff coming out.
We're going to talk about that.
Okay, so I'll save that for later then. But I don't care about any of the personal life stuff or the tweets or the way he acts. I care about his policies. I care about him as the United States, the president of the United States of America. And I want to make this clear. A lot of people think I'm some big fan of the U.S., and I'm not. I'm a kind of very Canadian nationalist, and I think that I put Canada far before the U.S. And I
hot take.
I have a general distaste for the U.S. and what it is and what it's founded upon, and the way it really has us by the balls, so to speak. But I also recognize that they influence us so strongly, unfortunately, for the worse. But because of that, I like to see good things. If they're going to influence us, if that's inevitable for now, I want them to influence us in a way that suits my worldview. But that said, Trump has disappointed me this week. It's been a bad week. Appointing John Bolton, who I don't like. He hasn't been officially appointed, but it's essentially going through. Appointing, now what was his name?
Mike Pompeo.
I don't like that guy. He's very George W. Bush-esque.
Gina Haspel, CIA director.
Yeah, now that's somebody who I haven't looked into too particularly closely at this point, so I'm going to have to do that. And now we've got this omnibus, and was that on the itinerary for today, Elliot? I don't want to spoil.
Not sure. What is...
Okay,
what
so
is
the
that?
Omnibus then is essentially what an omnibus is it's a bunch of bills passed at once, all put together into one bill. And because they had all the trouble with the budget, they kind of improvised this omnibus. And it's not a budget, contrary to popular belief. It's a appropriation bill, Consolidated Appropriations Act. So essentially, it's like a makeshift budget. So the difference is actually that appropriation acts have the force of law, whereas budgets don't. Budgets are a recommendation. Appropriation acts are law. And we talk about budgets as law often, but in the most technical sense, they aren't, even though they're passed the same way. And so this budget, I don't like it. This omnibus bill, I don't like it. I don't like, there's no wall funding, and that's something Trump's obviously broken a promise on. There's fence funding, which is fine, but a very small amount of funding for it. And they're going into extra deficit, which I don't care about. They can go into all the deficit they like, but I understand why people are upset about that. And it seems it was crafted just by Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell, who I don't think Trump realizes how opposed to everything they are. I think Trump looks at these guys and thinks, you know what, they don't agree with me on everything, but, you know, we're all Republicans, we're all friends. But no, Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell are on the opposite side of the aisle. They have nothing in common. And I think it's such a shame that they were allowed to have so much influence here, but that's just how it has to be given their positions. Sorry, I'm taking up a lot of time.
That's okay. So let's move on to some more hot button issues that people are wondering. So you mentioned the wall. What's happening with the wall? Really briefly. Funding is going to a fence, you say. So we're not getting a wall. We're just getting a fence.
I don't know the exact number, but in comparison to the rest of the bill, so I know it was 4% of Trump's planned border security budget was approved. So 96% unfunded. And because of that, a wall is something that would be rather expensive. It's only going towards a fence and repairs to the existing fencing. And now, you know what? A fence is something that's good to have, but just very anticlimactic, underwhelming for me, and something that I think needs to be addressed. And a big part of that, a huge amount of the funding going towards this fencing, is not going towards additional fencing. It's going towards adding gates to the fence. What's the point? You're just more entry points as opposed to more. It's supposed to be a barrier. It's, you know, adding more entry points just seems like a waste of money. I mean, if you want to add gates, fine, but not. You got to actually be making progress, meaningful progress with it if you're going to do that. And it's unfortunate, but September we'll have a new budget from the Trump administration, and we'll see then.
Yeah, you know, the wall to me. At one point, I really believed he was going to do it. Like, he had sort of I don't know where he put them, but he had like these models.
They're up. They're still up.
They're still up. They're in a desert. They're in a desert somewhere.
They're in San Diego.
Right? San Diego. That's not really a desert.
It's got a desert.
They're somewhere in a field. He's got all these, models for what the wall might look like and whatever. And, when, during the election, when he was talking about how he was going to fund the wall, I was like, okay, he doesn't understand economics. There's no way he's going to be able to do this. And then when he had when the whole DACA issue came up, and he was like, all right, I'll pass DACA, but you have to pass wall funding. And then I'm like, okay, they're really going to cave. He's really going to do it. And then he put the whole templates up, and I was like, okay, this is really going to happen. But now I'm looking at this, and I'm like, yeah, still idealistic. Like, I don't see him being able to do it. And I think if he doesn't do it by the midterm, or if he doesn't start by the midterm elections, or if he doesn't start by 2020, then I feel like a lot of, like, the wall was the foundation of his populist platform. It was like the wall represented. I know during elections you mentioned this a lot. This is sort of your quote, but the wall is a metaphor for more security, for keeping illegal immigrants out, for all this other stuff that a lot of the Republican populist people vouched for and they wanted. So I think if he doesn't build this wall, meaning if he doesn't ramp up security, if he doesn't put more legislation in to keep out illegal immigrants and different things like that, undocumented people, then I think that he's gonna suffer in the polls. I think there isn't much for me that I think can stop him, but I think once people realize that he hasn't done what he said he was going to do, or the basics of what he said he was going to do, then he's going to suffer. Not Stormy Daniels isn't going to take him down. Kathy Griffin isn't going to take him down. Like, they're not going to take down his personality. I think his personality is honestly untouchable. He's a trash human being, and he's going to be a trash human being until 2024.
Let's talk Stormy Daniels then. Let's talk about the women that have affected him. Let's talk about all these hot button issues. It's time to get a little triggered on this show. Mm-hmm. Stormy Daniels, he had sex with her, right? And his lawyers paid her off, so she shuts up. Yeah. And now she spoke to the media about it.
So yeah, Sunday it was Sunday that she gave the 60 Minutes interview. I got up Monday morning. I was like, okay, let's see what she had to say. Let's see what, let's see if there were anything new, anything, revolutionary. So what happened is that about 11 days either before the campaign started or before the election started, a Trump advisor reached out to Stormy Daniels and was like, look, you and him had relations back in 2005. We're going to give you $130,000 for your silence. And she took it. And
now that she broke the contract, what happens now?
No, well, that's the thing. An issue, and Stormy Daniels' lawyer is very smart. An issue with that is that it's almost like an illegal campaign donation because it was so close to the elections. Like, if you're paying someone off, you're breaking some election donation rules because you're paying off a party associated with the candidate. So I'm reading the story, and the story kind of goes that she was either in one of his hotels, or he was in Vegas, or
they met at one of his golf clubs.
One of his golf
and
clubs.
Then they went to his room, and then it got real weird.
It got hot and heavy, and
We watched Shark Week together.
yeah, that I was just gonna say that. Yeah, the second meeting that they had, the first meeting they had sex, but the second meeting that they didn't really have sex. They sort of, from what it looked like, they dry humped and then watched Shark Week.
I would love to watch Shark Week with Trump.
I wouldn't know.
I'm just imagining him, sitting there
really
beside
thought
me.
you were gonna say dry humped, and
No,
I was really concerned.
no. I just imagine sitting with Trump eating some cheeseburgers, watching Shark Week, and him pointing
Drinking
out
a
to me.
Diet Coke.
Him pointing out, and I can't do the Trump voice, but him pointing out to me.
Those are the best sharks,
You see that?
sharks in the world.
you see that? It's a big shark.
See that big shark? That's a big shark. Ooh,
Exactly.
big shark. Got the fish.
Anyway, but I think that this whole thing is just silly, and it's like I don't care. I don't understand why people do. Like, yeah, I get it. Trump's just a massive degenerate. This is not a secret. This has not been a secret for the last 40 years. Yes, he had affairs with porn stars. Like, I don't like it. I have the utmost distaste for that kind of thing. I think it's
like
gross.
He's in a bit of some stormy weather.
Yeah,
Ayo,
you got it.
bazinga.
But I just don't care. It's, and I think.
But what do you say to people who do care? What do you say to people who say, what kind of president has sex with porn stars and then gets elected? Like, what do you say to that?
Can I speak to that?
Of course.
Quickly. You can. Do you want to go?
I just want to say, from the bottom of my heart, why? And I get not liking it. No, I don't like it either. I get not liking it. That's not my question. But why do people care? Why are people interested? I don't know.
Maybe Adam can answer that question.
So, I feel like there's a lot of hypocrisy in what people have now criticized the media for. People say it's like, oh, these are such clickbait story, and you all know how I feel about clickbait. There are all these clickbait stories. There are all these, non-stories, non-issues. We're taking away from the real issues. We're taking away from the real problems. And then they're like, oh my God, Stormy Daniels.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot have it both ways. This is a non-story. I read the entire transcript of the interview. It is a non-story. Yeah. We know they had sex. We heard about this affair a while ago. If you hear about an affair, what do you assume? I personally didn't assume that they were going to watch Shark Week and dry hump, but I was thinking they were going to have sex, and they did, and he paid her off to keep her quiet. And then she broke the contract. And there's this whole issue that, somebody approached her, showed her a picture of some of her kids, and was one of her kids, and was like, "Oh, we don't want anything to happen to them now, do we?" In a kind of very, mafia movie.
Yeah,
fashion.
Sounds like something out of a cheesy movie.
I don't want to say that I don't believe her, but I would like to see more evidence.
Yeah.
And the lawyer says that he has more evidence, so I'm waiting. So I'm going to believe her. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt for now and believe her. I don't think someone would lie about someone threatening their child. But I think, one, it is a tactic. It's a campaign tactic, so I wouldn't be too surprised. But two, I think that the Trump administration knows by now, and he said it himself, I could go down the street shooting people and I wouldn't lose votes. I think people know by now that, as Marshall said, he's a massive degenerate. People have known it for 40 years. This cannot take him down. This will not take him down. This will blow over in about a week if it hasn't blown over already.
So let's go then in the future, 2020. Will this so-called massive degenerate be reelected? And will this degeneracy help him or hinder him?
I have to wait until the midterms. There have been a lot of key points for the Democrats recently. They beat there was a special congressional district in Pennsylvania that Trump won by 20%, and the Democrats edged out by 500 votes to beat the Republican candidate. So there have been some signals that there is this sort of blue wave that is coming, but with the way things are now, with the way things are now, things can change so fast. So fast. There is so much time between now and November. I have no idea what's going to happen. Trump could sort of 180 and do something the Democrats like, and then he goes up 5% in approval rating.
But do you think people change?
No, absolutely not.
Do people change in general? Well, yes, but that's not to say that people change completely. Their essence doesn't completely change. Trump may change his behavior in some areas, but I think that he is just kind of just a
Change his behavior as a tactic or a long-term strategy?
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm talking about him as a person. But as a tactic, no, he's not gonna change his behavior, not gonna change the way he talks and the way he addresses voters and the way he campaigns.
So, speaking of women in Trump's life, how's Hillary holding up?
I haven't heard anything from her in a while.
Well, there's the India thing.
Yeah.
Which I felt she was being rather silly with, but I think we discussed that already.
I guess I missed that.
We discussed
What
it on
happened?
the show. This is a couple weeks ago.
Hillary Clinton and
Didn't
India?
we? Where
No, we didn't
she
talk
was talking
about
about how Trump only won because white women's husbands were making them vote for Trump.
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
And how because certain people don't like black people having rights, that's why Trump won. And I'm just thinking, oh my God, give it up, woman. What
does she expect to accomplish by constantly talking about the election? Like, she wrote a book, What Happened? First page is Trump's picture. Like, it's...
Yeah. No,
we know what happened. You ran a shitty campaign.
Yeah,
you're a shitty candidate.
She is, and I'm sure she's very, very competent in many areas of, she was Secretary of State. I'm sure she's done
like
some good what things. She did, but I'm sure she was a hard worker, very intelligent, I would say, but not somebody who gets
But she's hurting
for.
the Democratic Party at this point.
Yeah.
Like, they need to get rid of her.
Yeah, they gotta get rid of her.
And they gotta get a new candidate. Now, here's a question that I think I've asked before, but this is circling back to the election. If Bernie had won the vote, would he have won against Trump?
I'm going to say no.
Yeah,
I'm going to say no. A big problem with the Democrats in the election was that while Trump did win, he played the Electoral College very well, and he did win key states like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and states like that. There was this big fallout of people that came out to the polls for the Democrats. About 5.6 million people came out to vote for Hillary than they did for Obama.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Bernie could have rallied those 5.6 million people, if not more. I think the same people that didn't vote for Hillary because she's a corrupt human being would not vote for Bernie Sanders because he's far too left for the American population.
Yeah. And he is a populist. A lot of people
he's a
talk about.
He's a left-wing populist.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about how heinous populism is with Trump, and then love Bernie. But I think he would have had a solid chance. I think that he would have turned a lot of regular people off, and I know that's not what populism is, but I think that a lot of regular people would have found him too much of a rabble-rouser, too much of somebody who wanted to change America, as opposed to Trump, who wanted to reinvigorate the spirit of America.
Yeah.
And so I think that would have hurt him, but I think he would have done rather well. I think he would have certainly stood a very good chance against Trump.
I think he had a pretty decent Republican support.
He did.
And independent support and right-leaning independent support. Like they really believed in his sort of, humble, honest, sort of non-billionaire funded grassroots campaign.
And really looking back, as far as I can think, with every single US presidential election, I don't know. Who's the last Democrat that I would have voted for if I were in the States at the time? Probably the Rough Rider, friggin' what's his name? Who's the guy with the mustache and the glasses? Rides a horse and night at the museum. Teddy Roosevelt. I would have voted for the Rough Rider, Teddy Roosevelt.
That was a long time ago.
And Bernie is somebody who I certainly would have considered. Maybe not if you were running against Trump.
Hot take.
If you were running against Mitt Romney, I'd vote for Bernie. Oh yeah, but not against Trump.
Yeah, I still don't think he would have won. I think they would have played up a lot of his. Just a lot of his populism as well. You want to say you break up the big banks? How exactly are you going to do that?
Yeah.
You want to say you want to start a political revolution? You want to fight the upper middle class, upper 1%, upper. How? Give me a how.
And how will that affect like the U.S. in the long term if you just bully the 1%?
They'll flee.
Exactly.
They'll flee if you raise corporate tax. They'll flee if you. Excuse me. If you don't give them the tax cuts that they want, they will flee. You can raise it up to a certain point, but if you raise it higher than that, they will flee. There's a whole economic thing behind that.
And I think that one thing that really hurt Bernie, and I don't know if it hurt him during the primaries, but it certainly would have hurt him during the general, is he doesn't react very well to being called out. And I'm not saying he gets aggressive or anything. But
no, he gets cocky.
When he's challenged on one of his positions, I don't think he is able to adequately rebut that challenge to it. Whereas Trump, in the most technical sense, in the most formal sense, he doesn't do a great job of rebutting challenges towards his positions either. But he does a great job of deflecting them, or even just, taking them in and saying, yeah, okay, so what?
Yeah.
Whereas Bernie kind of gets bewildered and his eyes pop out of his head.
Yeah, if you've ever tried to argue with your grandpa about anything, that's what it's like when you try and call out Bernie Sanders for something. Like, I remember there was this one reporter that was kind of like, come on, Bernie, you're going up against Hillary Clinton. She's got this, and this. Like, how are you going to beat her? How are you going to do it? And then he's like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to the polls, and we're going to get more people to vote for us than Hillary. It's revolutionary, but we're going to do it. I'm like, how is that an answer to anything? Like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take, when never mind. I don't have the mental capacity right now to do the whole meme reference to Patrick when it's like, we're going to take it and we're going to put him somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, exactly. We're going to
Why
take
don't we
Bikini
take
Bottom.
Yeah.
and move it somewhere else?
That's exactly what Bernie Sanders is trying to do. And Trump isn't immune to that as well. But that's how Bernie Sanders reacted to a lot of criticism.
Yeah.
Trump played the politics. He deflected it a lot. We've got the 306 electoral college votes, blah, blah, blah. I love women. I love black people. I love this. I love that. No one loves them more than me, blah, blah. Like the whole sort of script, if you want to Mad Lib his script. But Bernie did not know how to take criticism. And that's a big problem with sort of the woke left, I think. Once you've considered yourself progressive, and I'm guilty of this in a lot of ways, but once you've considered yourself progressive, you don't take criticism very well. Because you've sort of indoctrinated yourself as this person above other people. Yeah. And then when somebody comes and tries to come at you for something problematic that you said, you get angry, and especially male progressives as well.
And I think a lot of maybe entry-level progressives have kind of come to see progressivism, or I don't like to use progressivism because that's not what it is. That's a whole other thing, fun fact. But progressive politics, progressive left-wing politics as something that you just can't be against, right? And I think a lot of people who are just getting into the progressive left-wing politics kind of see it as, well, people who don't agree with us just don't understand it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I agree with that to some degree.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that's something you largely only see with the entry level progressives. Is
no, like in my head, I'm like, how can you be a certain way? Mm-hmm. But then if you look more into it, that's how you can be a certain way. I don't agree with you, but that's how it happened. There's a whole thread on Twitter by this progressive Mexican. His name's Juanpa, I think. And he does a whole thread about how Trump played to the sort of disenfranchised farmer population in the Midwest, and that's how he got a lot of his votes. And he's like, look, I'm progressive, I don't agree with this, but this is how he did it. And he sort of used examples of his own communities and his own families in Mexico, and that's how he sort of related it to it. So, the understanding, I think, is a big part of it. I don't know how we got on this topic, but
Well, let's then move on to one of the last questions I have, which is we talked about Trump, we talked about the women, talked about Hillary, and now, of course, how's Mr. Mike Pence doing there?
I haven't heard anything from him.
Yeah, and
I think he's sort of just cruising.
And as it is with most vice presidents, is you don't see what they do. It's not something that is tangible. Well, that's not totally accurate. It's often very tangible, but it's not something that you see made a spectacle of. There's no fanfare when the vice president does something. So Pence very well may be doing plenty, and he is in the Senate there. Breaking ties is mainly his job there,
Which is wrong, in my opinion, but
Yeah.
it's how it is.
Yeah, how it is. And I see where you're coming from for sure. I don't necessarily feel strongly either way about it, but Pence is he hasn't shed his bad image that he had necessarily, but I think people have just come to care less about it because they are seeing that he's not really doing anything that is particularly visible. Because I remember people were far, far more scared of him than they were of Trump.
I still am.
During the election.
I still am. That's why I'm very hesitant to say impeach him, because I'm very scared of
Because then
Pence.
you get Pence.
I have always felt that there was a lot of over dramatization of Pence and who he is and what he likes and what he stands for, and I get why people don't like him, and I'm not saying that people are wrong to dislike him. I do think there's a bit of sensationalism around him, but right now I would say he's doing fine. He's not doing anything wrong as far as I can see, not doing anything overly right. I don't know.
He's staying neutral.
Very neutral.
So then my last question before, hopefully we'll answer this quickly and we can play a little game, but fun game. My last question, which is Trump going to get elected in 2020?
I'm gonna go with yes. I don't see the Democrats producing a strong candidate, and I know Obama kind of came out of nowhere and RKO'd the entire Democratic primary, but I don't see an Obama in the parliament in Congress right now.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking he's going to lose one of the houses. He's either going to lose the Senate or the House, but he himself is going to win the Electoral College vote, because he's going to play to the states that he won, I think, just before the election. Like, he's going to put in some legislation that will bring back, I guess, steel or coal in Pennsylvania, and then auto insurers in Wisconsin and Michigan. So I think that he's gonna be smart, or not him. His advisors are going to be smart, and they're going to play to the same states that they won that got them the.
So
Commercial?
I'm going to
Real
say
quick.
yes, but we'll know after the primaries. I think he's going to retain the House and then very, very slimly lose this. Sorry, other way around. Very, very slimly lose the Senate. Sorry, whatever. Continue.
I understand.
Yeah.
Yes.
And yeah, I think he's going to win. I don't know if the Democratic Party can rebuild fast enough, but again, we'll have to see. So let's play the little game, which I thought of just 5 minutes ago. It's called Who Would You Rather? I'm sure you've heard of it, but I'm going to be asking questions of which leader would you rather have. First one is Trump or Pence?
Trump.
Pence or Hillary?
Hillary.
Pence.
Wow. Pence or Doug Ford?
Pence. I shouldn't say that too loudly. I forgot we're on the air here. Never mind, Doug Ford.
I'm gonna go with Doug.
And lastly, Kathleen Wynne or Hillary Clinton?
Kathleen
Wynne.
Kathleen Wynne.
Fair enough. All right. Well,
Do I have time to plug myself real quick?
yeah, sure.
So I'm
really
running
quickly, like super
Yeah,
quick.
I'm running for president of the Ryerson Campus Conservatives. If you are a registered member of the Campus Conservatives, then tonight, 6:30, 25 Carlton Street, come out and vote for me. Looking forward to seeing you there.
Oh, good luck.
Awesome. Good luck, Marshall.
Thank you.
Well, that was our show for this week. Thank you to everyone that tuned in and that messaged us live. A brand new episode and last episode of Season 4 of the Raben Report will be coming to you next week. Same day, same time, same people. Have a great day, everyone.
Good show, guys.